Hey there, I'm Nicholas Dubois, co-founder of Advanced SimRacing. We are a Canadian company. So what we did here today is for a real petrol head. He's really passionate about cars, as you can see behind me. We did a turnkey solution for him based on his needs. We try to gather as much information as we can on our client. And like we did today, we install a D-box system. We install ultra-wide cube control steering wheel. We try to provide the best quality for your budget. So let's say if you want a budget of 10 grand, we're gonna give you something that's the best for 10 grand. If you want 20 grand, then we always try to stay within your boundaries. We do try to make it as easy as possible. So the client, once we install everything, it's pretty much gonna be a turnkey. So he's gonna press start on his computer, and right after, we'll try to explain everything, how it goes, how it works, and then he's ready to go. Our aluminum is from USA, treated in Canada, cut in Canada. So we do sand all our aluminum piece just to make sure the powder coat sticks to it. And that's one of the reasons why we use powder coat, is to make sure you have the best aluminum finish in the industry. And our quality is beyond what you can get with any other competitors right now. We are really, really passionate about all the gear, all the cockpits, all the sim hardware, and that's why we want to create something that's really gonna reflect our passion into our product. Come visit us at advancedsimracing.com. You can always reach us if you have any questions. You can call us, you can text us, you can go on Facebook, like our page, ask us questions over there, and we'll make sure to answer every questions there is. We are very passionate about what we do, and we try to make it as easier for you to go into the sim racing world, because there's a lot of gear, there's a lot of options, but let us guide you through your process, and let's hope you'll be an Advanced Sim Racing customer.
Last week was rife with frustrations for our drivers. The difficulties of Imola and some on-track mistakes at Road America created a bit of drama in the virtual paddock. If our competitors were hoping for some relief, Long Beach is unlikely to provide it. Here's hoping cool heads prevail as we get ready to watch Round 5 of the PRL GT Pro Series, and you'll see it all live here on the Global Sim Racing channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is DJ Clark. Behind the scenes is our director, Robert O'Brien, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Starting off with the MX-5's Long Beach Street Course will ensure nobody steps out of bounds. Let's head to our track guide to get a closer look at this historic venue. Welcome to Long Beach. Nestled into the south side of Los Angeles and running alongside the Pacific Ocean, this street circuit has made the port area world famous. Both Formula One and IndyCar have called this 2-mile, 11-turn circuit home. Winning here has become a prestige worth boasting about among open-wheel pilots. Indeed, the winners list includes the likes of Lauda, Andretti, Unser, Montoya, Power, and many other legendary names in racing. Much like its European sister over in Monaco, it's short, tight, and punishing. But unlike Monte Carlo, this circuit emerged from a rundown piece of California coast to grow into the glamorous location it is today. Down into Turn 1 at the end of Shoreline Drive is where the majority of overtakes tend to be made. But sneaky passes can also pop up in places like 6 on the way into Pine Avenue, or Turn 9 at the end of Seaside Way. There's also 2 distinctive landmarks notorious for causing track blockages. The fountain section, with all its beauty, is a single-file affair save for the first lap. And the hairpin has been a staple here, even though it's changed locations a few times. In fact, that last hairpin not only includes the dangers of getting tangled with another car, but the important nature of getting the best exit you can to keep your rival from having a chance to pass you into the first corner. It feels appropriate that California's signature street track is a hop, skip, and a jump away from the beach. But while others might be trying to attack the surf, our drivers today will be attacking the corners instead. Well, DJ, we've come to your home track, but with MX-5s instead of Indy cars on it. What's it going to be like?
Well, we have indeed, Joe, and it's still going to present a lot of the same challenges that we see whenever the Indy cars or the IMSA series comes here. Your best overtaking zone really will probably be going down into turn 1, that Toyota turn there, as well as we may see a little bit of surprise moves going into the Tecate turn or the Firestone turn on the back of Seaside Way. But the danger areas, well, they abound everywhere. Pretty much the whole of Sector 1 after that first turn going through the fountain, and then the double right-hand those are very, very tricky and very, very difficult to get right. And because this is a street track, the barriers are right there. You make a mistake, you're right up into the wall. And then from there, we've got to talk about the world infamous hairpin. And what makes it so tough here is that Indy left, the curving left-hander that leads us right into that tight braking zone. But you've got to absolutely nail that corner if you want to have any shot to get an overtake down shoreline drive. So it'll be a very tricky thing to get a pass done here, Joe, but I think it's certainly possible, especially with how nimble these MX-5s are. You can leave the braking for pretty late, but they're going to have to be careful not to outbrake themselves.
Certainly, and I wouldn't be surprised if we saw some bodywork wind up flying after they plow into some of those barriers. But before we get to that and see if that happens, we want to remind you that our broadcast is brought to you by ASR. Owned and operated by passionate sim racers, Advanced SimRacing designs and builds the sturdiest and most durable aluminum profile racing simulation cockpits available in the market today. Visit them at advancedsimracing.com.
It's also sponsored by RaceLab. RaceLab helps you to improve your driving skills. With modern overlays, race statistics, and native VR integration, you can get the best out of iRacing. Start using it for free at racelab.app.
Today's broadcast is also proudly sponsored by ButtKicker. ButtKicker products add an incredible immersion and realism to any game. Feel every nuance and truly put yourself in the driver's seat. Check them out at thebuttkicker.com.
Today's event is also brought to you by SimMSA. Simulation Motorsports Affinity provides many consulting services, from completely customizing simulators to managing teams, individual drivers, and complete events. They're working hard to bring everyone together at one place to support and promote SimRacing internationally.
And finally, the PRL GT Series is brought to you by NinjaTrader. Ready to compete against the financial markets? Supporting over 60,000 users across the globe, NinjaTrader provides award-winning trading software and brokerage services. NinjaTrader is always free to use for advanced charting, backtesting, and trade simulation. Visit ninjatrader.com to get started with a risk-free trading simulator and start tracking your performance. And a big thank you, of course, to our sponsors of this series. We really consider them an important aspect of getting this thing on the air, so we just want to give them an extra little thanks for all that they've done over multiple seasons here in the PRL. But we also have a championship we do need to cover here, and up at the top of it, Peter Newhook has been looking pretty good. He leads by about 4 points over Mossman, who's also been quick but is not here today. So Newhook is going to have to try and capitalize, but he hasn't looked that great in warm-up. Luna jumps up into third with Boucher and Michaud, rounding out your top 5, all relatively tightly there from third to fifth. What about the team's championship?
Well, it's a little bit more spread out there in the team's championship, Joe, with Miata Mafia holding a 40-point advantage over Oh God Right Turns. From there, the Jaeger Bombs are about 30 points back of them, and about another 30 points back are RF Delta Sport. Fossil Racing, though, they're a little bit closer. They're only about 13 points off that fourth place, so that's really the closest battle we have. But a track like Long Beach can throw up some real confusion and maybe change those standings right around.
Indeed. Well, let's see what the drivers are up against, though, here today, because it's another 35-minute race here, and now we're halfway through the season after this is over. It's an open setup series, but these cars are more about comfort, which is probably going to be important at a track like this, where you want to make sure that it's handling just to your liking, more so than being ultimately fast. And as for the drive-through penalty at 13 incidents and a disqualification at 17, we have seen them happen here before. in other series where drivers can somehow meet those incident limits, but it's rare, especially seeing as how they usually have too much damage to continue if they get too many of those incident points. So bonuses are up for grabs, and we're just getting ready to hand out the bonus for the pole position, as they have not yet set their first of the 4 laps that they can put down here at Long Beach. It's not Indy cars. They're not getting around here in a little over a minute. It takes a bit longer than that. And this trackside cam should give us a good idea. You can see just how much Bradley Holly is slipping and sliding around.
Yeah, that 184 looking a little bit loose out there. Able to catch it pretty well coming on to Seaside Way, but definitely a little bit of slip angle in the car, trying to hold it together. Now, that'll definitely help him. If that car is a little bit loose, it'll very quickly go through the corners, but he's just going to have to be all over it. A little bit of slippage there. Let's see how he handles this just terrifying final couple of corners. Gets the car straight onto the binders. That jerk to the wheel very quickly to get it straight, and then right back out onto Seaside Way. Love that angle there with Bradley. You could see just how far he was looking through that corner.
Yeah, I feel like this is a track where VR would be a huge advantage, and he puts down a 33.9. Mossman has shown up. The 69 is here, and he is 16 thousandths behind Holly on his first lap. Now, did Frank get any practice in is the question? No, he did not. Wow. Okay, this changes the complexion of the race.
It certainly does. You can see right on board with Holly here. Michael Michaud, though, jumping up to P1. The top 3 right now separated only by 36 thousandths of a second. So very, very tight up at the top between Michaud, Holly, and Mossman.
This is going to be fascinating to watch. Bad news for fans of Peter Newhook. His first lap did not count. He must have brushed the wall and had his time deleted. That is a concern here, not so much as going off track as just bumping into the barriers, because you're getting a little too close. And here is Newhook now watching the onboard as he takes it onto Seaside Way. That one nice and tidy as we jump onto the roll bar. And it takes a little longer to get down here in these sports cars, but he's going to slam on the brakes into Firestone and then steer it into that 90-degree right-hander.
Carries some good momentum out of it. Clips the curbs there, coming through the Indy left. Let's see how he's able to handle it. I love that he's holding his breath there, coming through the hairpin. Now able to get it gathered back up. It looked like he was a hair late getting on the throttle there. Maybe a little bit too much speed coming into the corner. But let's see. Mossman now bumps up to the top of the charts. Let's see what Newhook's got. If he can put anything down, that'll only be good enough for 6th.
Yeah, things swapped around between Mossman and Holly right as Holly set his fastest lap, but Frank beat him by about 16 thousandths of a second. Holly out of the fountain section now and into the double right-hander you mentioned before. Gets very narrow in this part of the track. You can see the lanes on the normal streets come down, and look at him leaving tire tracks all the way out of turn 5.
That skid there, it may look pretty in the movies, but it's not going to get you around here in the fastest way possible. Running it very wide there. That's a good call from Holly. You just want to maximize momentum coming out of the Tecate turn. Keep that speed up, taking a little bit of the Max Chilton line there through onto Seaside Way, cutting down those curbs big time.
Looks like Malcolm Foster finally got himself on the board. He's good enough for 16th. Still waiting on about 5 drivers to set a time here with 3 minutes left to go. Here comes Holly now through the Indy left. This is actually a parking lot that they set this left-hand corner in to feed you into the hairpin here off the turn. Mossman is going to be following him across. They're going to be just about crossing it at the same time here. So let's see who's quicker on their third lap through a 33.316. That's faster for Holly, but that doesn't get him the pole, and Mossman missed out on that lap with it deleted.
Yeah, so he must have either run wide or gotten a little bit of a touch into the barriers. We're going to jump back here. This is Danny Cervantes currently up into third. He's been able to jump over Michael Michaud. Michaud not putting down the best laps here. He just came across the line now. Looks like that's marginally better for Michael with a 33.871, but not enough to move himself forward.
And Peter Newhook is not looking good. He did not improve on that last lap. So this is going to be his last try as he's on his fourth, as we watch Cervantes also really sliding it out of that corner. It's an off-camber turn, so I'm wondering if that's why we're seeing so many drivers get oversteery there.
It's very possible. These Miatas are very, very sensitive to the way the track is like that. They don't like that off-camber stuff. They're used to a little bit more traditional racetracks. So we watched the 14 here of Johnny Luna. Hadn't set a time previously, now able to bump his way up into 5th place. So good lap there for Johnny. Looks like Bradley Holly's calling it a day, so he does not think he can improve. He is done with that 33.3.
Wow, so he's not going to get the pole. Mossman could extend it here. Cervantes now the one trying to chase him down as we watch Luna come onto Pine Avenue. Frank's just coming to the line now on his last lap around. Let's see what this one's going to be for him. And it looks like a 33.6 will not be an improvement. He still has the top spot, though. And Luna going to be coming to the end of the long back stretch. I see Michaud approaching. He's about half a second off, and he practices his pit entry, which he really maximizes. My goodness. I don't think he even lifted flying into that little chicane.
No, and I think part of that may have been precipitated by him seeing the mirrors hanging off of the Miata of the 497 of Michael Michaud. I think he may have clipped something along the way, so that may have been part of it. We watch here the 14 of Johnny Luna, though, coming out of the hairpin. Let's see if he's got anything. He looks a little slow on my tracking app, but he's going to cross the line on a very slow lap. That was a 149.
I'm showing Luna as a 33.7. So he actually did improve up to 4th, but unfortunately he's not able to take his 4th lap. So we see Bergquist now coming through. He sits in 11th. Is he going to be our last one? Do we have anybody else? I see Daniel Williams, who's currently in 21st, who looks like he might be able to make it around in time. Otherwise, it's getting late in the session. So here comes the number 64 car down into the line. He's got about 1.7 seconds to make up. And a 34.1 is a nice bit of improvement. That's up to 6th.
That's a great lap there for Kevin Bergquist, the independent driver. He'll be very, very pleased to get that 6th place. And yeah, the 21st place machine, that was Daniel Williams. That looked like the last one to cross over the line. He was able to improve, I believe, but didn't move him anywhere. He's going to stay in 21st.
Our grid is set, and Frank Mossman comes back trying to win back-to-back and potentially his 3rd of the season with Bradley Holly to his outside. Danny Cervantes is on row 2 with Johnny Luna next to him. Michael Michaud starts P5. Then it is Kevin Bergquist in 6th and Jacques Boucher in P7. At the outside of that row, Jason Larson starts from 8th with Sean Vincent in 9th and Peter Newhook all the way down in 10th.
Surprising start there from Peter. He's going to have some work to do, but behind him, it'll be Ian Cabana and Patrick Cowgill in 11th and 12th, with Robert Gallinotto in 13th and Pete Bladden in 14th. Row 8 will be Dana Duchesne and Malcolm Foster. When lining up behind them in row 9, it's Todd Lewis and Pete Thomas, with Matthew St. Aubin in 19th, and Mark Cassell will round out your top 20.
Daniel Williams was the last to set a time, and Adam Young rounds out the 22-car field. And let's not forget, it is a standing start here for the MX-5. So these drivers are going to have to be on their game down into the first corner, because everybody's still going to be very bunched up, as usually they pan out after that hairpin with nobody really being able to get close to each other through there. So as it looks like we're just waiting on Williams to grid up now. Once that happens, we get ready for round 5 here in the Precision Racing League MX-5 Cup Series. And looks like Luna and Williams are taking their sweet time, actually. I do see Luna out there now, but Williams has not gridded up. So he might be starting from pit lane. Kind of don't blame him too much. That can sometimes be a cleaner way to kick off your race. And at about 8 seconds left, that appears to be exactly what he's trying to do, because there's still no sign of him showing. That means that the engines will now start to rev as the lights come up And the green flag is out off the line. Mossman struggles, spins the wheels a lot there. Bradley Holly already going to sneak by and might fall down to third because there goes Cervantes. In fact, Danny with a monster charge off the line. He could maybe look at first place depending on how brave he is down into the first corner. They come into the braking zone. Who's got the biggest set of attachments? And it looks like Cervantes is going to be able to sneak through, but it's side by side down into the fountain section. Can they handle this, trying to weave their way through? They are. It continues now into turn 4. Inside goes to Bradley Holly. He'll take the lead away. Here comes Mossman back at him.
Oh, and Cervantes losing out there again, and now it looks like Johnny Luna trying to be a little bit on the attack here on that number 25 machine. It looks so strong for him, but just put offline through that first sector.
For a brief moment, Cervantes held the lead. We're on board with Johnny Luna as a slide from Danny Cervantes is caught without incident, but it loses him yet another position.
Yes, it does. So things going from bad to worse here for Danny Cervantes, dropping back to 4th place as of right now. Here's the 497, though, Michael Michaud trying to maybe have a little bit of a look on Johnny Luna as they fly down the back straight of Seaside Way. He's going to back it off, not go for that full attack there quite yet.
Oh, and Mossman is in a battle with Bradley Holly for the lead. Holly gets very loose down through the Indy left. Gonna get close to that rear bumper as they all check up into the hairpin. No contact that I'm seeing yet amongst the drivers, so it looks like they've completed lap 1 successfully, other than Vincent, Newhook, and Thomas.
Yeah, indeed, very close here, but it looks like Bradley Holly's in full attack mode. He wants to take that lead away from Frank Mossman, tucked right up behind the draft of that 69 machine. Is he gonna pull out here going into turn 1? No, he's gonna think better of it and just see if he can apply pressure.
Oh, but a mistake. He gets it right away. There is Frank Mossman going wide through turn 1 and Bradley Holly up to the top spot. Luna now into 3rd.
And that's exactly what I was talking about, just making that pressure, forcing him to outbrake himself. That is really, really good heads up from Bradley Holly.
And don't forget, these two have history from last round. There was a bit of talking between them after the contact they had on the very last lap at Imola. Didn't sound like Holly was all that fond of the move. And so I wonder if he's starting to try to get a little bit creative with how he races Frank to try and make sure that he doesn't fall victim to another little bump and run down the backstretch, though. Mossman regaining some time in the slipstream. The braking into Firestone, just not close enough, so they're going to remain in order.
Saying single file here. That is an area you can potentially get an overtake done, but let's see what Frank Mossman has in store. I think he's going to have his blood up a little bit after that mistake going down to the first corner. Ooh, that was Johnny Luna going very wide, making contact with the wall. You can see that mirror dangling off there a little bit.
If that's the worst damage he's got out of it, I think he can count himself lucky. Don't think that's going to hurt his top speed too badly. And as chasing him, Danny Cervantes is watching forward. He's got to watch his mirrors too, because Michaud is starting to show his nose, but he's not close enough once again. No change between them. Now it's Danny's turn to go a little bit wide, and Michaud once again thinks about it, then reconsiders.
I like that attack there from Michaud, just poking his nose into the fountain section. That's a really tricky area for these drivers, even with the softer suspensions in these MX-5s. If you get up onto the inside curbing of that fountain section, it can really throw the weight off the car.
Adam Young and Malcolm Foster had it coming together in the hairpin. Thankfully, both were able to keep going, but Young made an ambitious move down the inside and got into the side of Foster. Almost spun him. Both were able to keep going. Back on to Seaside Way. Holly is your leader. Mossman second. Luna is in third. They're all looking for that brake marker, getting ready to try and swing the car through this right-hander.
Yeah, indeed, Joe. I can also report that Pete Bladden in the back of the field outbraked himself going down into turn 1. Got a little friendly with that outside tire barrier, but these leaders right here keeping it very, very tight. Michaud in particular putting some good pressure here to Danny Cervantes as they make their way back on. It looked like Michaud had to check himself a little bit coming out of the hairpin. I think he may have carried a little excess speed and just had to catch the car.
Holly with the fastest lap of the race. Definitely too far ahead for Frank to be able to make a move this time. In fact, drivers are looking a little bit more separated here up at the front. Except for, well, Mossman's closing in. Oh, and did something... Oh, excuse me, we had some internet connections with Johnny Luna. My timing screen was telling me there were passes, and it was just a disappearing 14 car for a moment. Michaud, though, looks like he's losing time. I think Michaud had a moment in turn one and actually hit the wall. If we can get a replay on the 497 into Toyota turn, it's our first victim of that tire barrier into the first corner in the race. We take a moment to try and spool that one up. Here we go.
All right, so that's Michaud in the 497, chasing down Cervantes. Little squirrely under braking. That car didn't exactly look stable. Ooh, just a graze into the tire barrier, but that will certainly blunt his momentum.
That's allowed Bouchard to catch up to him. We're going to watch from on board. Definitely hurt his speed quite a bit. This is always the worst feeling when you know what's going to happen. There's not much you can do about it. And there's another wing mirror, unfortunately, that needs to be replaced.
Indeed. There you can see it just hanging off of the car there for Michael Michaud.
Ooh, let's get back to the leaders. It's down to 0.2 of a second once again. Frank is now the one able to apply pressure to Bradley Holly instead. So can he get Holly to crack as well? If Holly's anything like he usually is on the oval side of things, that's going to be a tough task.
Yeah, indeed it is. He knows how to defend, and he knows how to defend well. And I think here he may have a little bit of a measure of just how to keep everything back under him as they continue to work their way around. Looking to see, Mossman not exactly having the gap down to where he wants it yet. He's certainly closing in. It's about 3.5 of a second. Not close enough to make a move.
It's going to need those corner exits to be a little better behind them. Big slide there from Johnny Luna, who was trying to keep it from winding up in the wall. Had some few passes in the mid-pack. Looks like Cabana just went by Cowgill. That was for 9th place there. And St. Aubin is just behind them. That's the red car that you see, 3rd in the train. He is up from 19th, so an 8-position gain in only 5 laps.
Yeah, he is moving his way through the field. St. Aubin was a little surprising to see him qualify as low as he did. We've seen him struggle, or we've seen him fight in normally the top of the mid-pack, if not even going for podium positions here at a couple of points. So clearly just couldn't get that set up. But right ahead of him, that is Ian Cabana and Jason Larson. Or excuse me, that's Cowgill and Cabana, excuse me, as they've kind of been duking it out for the past couple of laps here, Joe.
Get very close to one another there in turn 1, but Cowgill decided to lift a little early on that. Just a number of cars that are getting it right up to the wall. Usually a good sign, I guess, that you're getting every inch of the track that you can if you're that wing mirror is now dangling. We watch from on board Matthew around turn 6 and on to Pine Avenue, having to brake before you head up the hill and then take it onto the long back stretch, but he goes wide at the apex, and that was very costly on speed.
It was indeed. That's really, really going to blunt his momentum, and momentum is the name of the game around here. Even on a little short track like this, a street circuit, you have got to, wow, and that's off into the wall for the 24.
Oh, after he was doing such a good job making up positions. Not sure how much damage he got out of it. So, to watch here going by, we need to see the other side of the car. Try and get an idea of what all's been done. Doesn't look too bad. A little scraped up, but otherwise decent. Meanwhile, Cowgill keeps flirting with the rear bumper of Ian Cabana and gets back into the racing line yet again.
Yes, he does. So Cowgill continuing to get this.
Cabana just plowing into the wall and holds up both of the drivers behind him, neither able to make a pass, which is quite shocking, and he goes wide a little bit, but keeps it out of the barrier from turn 5. Cowgill had no place to go in the fountain, just had to slow up as he watched that 774 hit the barrier.
Yeah, and here comes Cowgill, but we may have a pass for the lead here, Joe, as that is finally Frank Mossman making the move on Bradley Holly. That is going down into the Firestone turn and move done, but that's going to allow for Holly to be right up behind Johnny Luna, taking a look coming through Indy left.
Looked like maybe he wanted to try and undercut him. Just switch back around. Oh, and some wheel spin off of the hairpin from Mossman is not good, because now Holly's got a huge slipstream down the front stretch, and they are well clear of the two behind them that were right up underneath them before. Luna and Cervantes did not have a good corner exit. No defense yet from Mossman. Stays off to the right-hand side, and no attack either from Holly.
No, none at all. I think at this point, Bradley's just trying to drive this smooth. He doesn't want to overdrive the car, use a little too much of anything. Did take a little bit of the curbing coming through that fountain section. I think he also knows he's got to be careful because Johnny Luna is all up his rear bumper.
Back on the shoreline, heading up the reverse way towards turn 6. Everybody kind of drifting across, spotting their brake markers. Top 4 separated by 1.3 seconds. And as you would expect here in California, relatively warm track, with it being at least partly cloudy, so it's the sun for the most part banging down onto the pavement.
Yeah, Joe, as we would say that out here in Southern California, it's nice. Very, very exactly what you would expect. 10 miles an hour worth of wind coming out of the northwest. That is to be expected. We are right up next to the beach here, but only 90 degrees Fahrenheit on track. That's a good zone for the tires. That's going to be right in a good range. It's not going to... Oh!
Big catch for Bradley Holly, and unfortunately no speed after that one. Behind them, what I thought was going to be a battle is instead Cervantes giving a bit of a bump draft to Luna. Now he sees Holly, with him being slow, switches over and pulls the toe from him instead. Luna has no response. He can maybe try and outbrake him down into the first corner, but he drifts across and they're going to make contact. He tips him back forward, but the 25 loses the place right back.
Ay, 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 that is not what you want to see going down into that first corner. We have seen that. Oh, and there is definitely some damage from Cervantes. I think you saw him coming out of the fountain section just squirrely a little bit there.
It looked like a little bit more like the celebrity race here instead of professional drivers for a moment, just kind of getting into each other, getting rough out there. We watch Cervantes now down into P5, Michaud up to 4th. Luna retains that 3rd position. No change in front of them. Mossman still ahead of Holly by about half a second.
Yeah, indeed. He's able to hold that out right here, so good for both of them. But I do have to say, they may have to deal with a little bit of lap traffic here at some point. I am seeing the 21 of Sean Vincent not too far up the track for them. I'm also seeing the 20 of Pete Thomas coming down pit lane right now.
Yes, and Foster is in. So Malcolm Foster is getting ready to complete his pit stop just a little before the halfway mark. We'll take a look at Larson as well, coming on through, sitting in the 8th position, trying to chase down Kevin Berquist for P7, and Patrick Cowgill is also going to decide now is the time to take his stop.
All right, so some early stoppers here deciding to jump down in. Patrick Cowgill, obviously one of the highest. He's pretty much just splitting this race a little bit earlier than normal, but definitely a strategy here to maybe avoid some traffic. We follow here on the 13. That's Jason Larson as he tries to chase down Berkowitz. You can see on Larson's car, at least there was a minute ago, and there you can see it up ahead on Berkowitz, that left side mirror hanging off.
A little bit of cloud cover to help alleviate the temperatures on the racing surface for at least a little bit. And I'm kind of watching the leaders. The leaders are once again getting very close to one another. It's 2 tenths between Holly and Mossman. I think Holly's setting him up, though. He didn't even show his nose down the backstretch. It seems like today it's been a rather cool and collected Bradley Holly, just trying to size him up. Not completely mistake-free. A little bit of a slide there. And look at that. The shoulders just kind of relax a moment after he exhales coming out of the hairpin.
Yeah, this is really one of the only places you can breathe on the track, Joe. And, a lot of times drivers need that moment to just breathe, gather your thoughts back under you before you have to go into the high-stress environment like it is breaking down into turn 1, especially when you've got another car in front of you. You've got to change your braking line to make sure you're not going to run into the back of them. It's exactly what Bradley's doing, able to gain a little bit of time there through the fountain section, coming out both very close to the wall, but doing a good job here to keep up that pressure on Frank Mossman.
Obviously, I don't have a crystal ball or anything, but I'm just getting a bad feeling about this one, especially after what happened last round. It's come down to these two with bad blood already kind of bubbling up a little bit. And Johnny Luna, in the meantime, as we jump back to him, has Michaud to his inside, and Cervantes already catching up, trying to figure out which one he should go with as we ride on board, looking at Michaud off to the left side. Cervantes also there, deep into the corner for Johnny, and he is going to retain third again.
That's a heck of a defense, but I think the biggest implication for that is Michael Michaud, that Danny Cervantes now is going to be able to try to get ahead. Remember, those two came together a few laps ago. There's a little bit of a close from Michaud. He's got to back off early. Cervantes in that yet orange machine behind him, looking very aggressive. Michaud going a little bit wider now into Indy left. Oh, is this going to be Cervantes trying to have a move down into the hairpin?
This usually doesn't end well. Is he actually going to make it stick? He is! A brilliant move into the final turn of the track. Cervantes gets fourth with that. I can also report that Robert Galanotto had an accident. Don't need to go to it, but he fell victim to turn 1 as well. Are we going to see a fight back? No, we're going to see a fight forward from Cervantes yet again, this time on Johnny Luna, who just half-heartedly covers off the inside, back to the racing line. Cervantes is there, and he's through.
That is a very impressive couple of corners from Danny Cervantes. 2 positions in 2 corners. That orange number 25 machine is on a charge.
On the podium now, but all this battling, look at the gap there on the tower. It's 8 seconds from P3 to P2, so they're really costing one another a lot here. Let's not forget that they were all tied up right behind Holly and Mossman earlier in this race, so they could have had pace, but we've seen so many mistakes and so many duels.
Yeah, we really have, Joe, and it's coming back to bite a few of these drivers. And all of that, this is really turning into just a battle in and of themselves, especially now that Johnny Luna looking like he's got a little bit of a run coming there onto Seaside Way. Is he going to have a look going down into the Firestone turn?
Looks like Michaud was thinking about it from way back. Another big blink there from Johnny Luna, and he finally comes back. This close to racing, this is not a good thing to be seen. Car's trying to get rotated out of the corner and just wheeling that car off of the thing. Michaud instead is now the one on the attack as Johnny Luna ahead of him covers off the right-hand side. Michael looking left, but it's a longer way here along Shoreline before it finally breaks down into turn 1 and he gets back in line once again.
Yes, he does. So no major attacks there. Another little blink there from Johnny Luna. So drivers are going to have to be careful about that. They're going to note it down that car's having some connection issues. And they don't want to be too aggressive and run the risk of him blinking out and blinking back in right near them.
Larson is now in the pits, so Jason has his stop done after he leaves his stall. And looks like that's already finished. I believe in the next lap or two, we're going to hit that into the pit window. So we'll see who decides to pit win here and if that affects the order. It is a tricky pit entry at this place.
Yeah, it really is. You're coming in full speed off of that hairpin, and you've just got to dive the car down a very, very narrow path. Bradley Hawley, though, falling off of Frank Mossman here. Oh, he's got big front-end damage. We're going to have to see what happened.
I'm trying to see if I can find it. And, oh, I think some sort of missed. Oh, no, it was a mistake into the first corner from Mossman. He hit the wall. Bradley had no time to respond and then got into the back of him. Again, no spare car in this series, so he's just going to have to deal with that in what appears to be a serious straight line speed disadvantage now for him. Here's comes the incident down into turn one. And again, it starts with Mossman having the off. So we'll watch from Hawley and you'll see that blue car up ahead just get a little too deep in there.
All right, so watching here, Hawley's got a pretty big gap up to him at this point. Let's watch this. Here comes the braking zone. Mossman onto it. Oh!
Big crunch. Big crunch. Actually sped up Frank by a significant amount. Almost looked like he was coming in a little too hot after that, even with the fountain section. Let's watch it from Frank's view now. By the way, we are having a few pit stops as we watch this. Cervantes has finished his. He's ahead of Michaud, who's also been in and out. We mentioned Larson is done. He's behind them. Here we go. I'm gonna guess this is like we've been seeing from any other cars, just too ambitious. Way too ambitious. Two wheels in the air. Oh. And then a giant crunch. Hurting Hawley a lot more than it did Mossman. Hawley is in, and Boucher is as well. Berquist now pits. While Frank continues, so does Johnny. Let's see if anybody else decides to keep going. Looks like St. Aubin is also not going to pit this lap. I expect the next one by to be the final one for the ability. And for now, Frank's car looking a little bit more like a flop-eared dog.
Yeah, it's a little squished in there, and there you can see it, just kind of those basset hound ears hanging off the side of the car with those two wing mirrors not exactly being upright.
They just tear those off in the pit stop. Don't need them anymore, I don't think. The way he's been able to pull a gap now. The RF Delta Sport driver. I love the new damage model that iRacing has been putting on these cars. It just gives such a liveliness to the races and certainly provides some interesting stuff and looks from the cars as he comes down through Indy left. Remember, they've got to go all the way around the hairpin, and then there's a quick chicane on entry. Watch to the right-hand side. He's probably going to have...
And indeed he does. He is down pit lane. So there is your leader, Frank Mossman, electing to make that move on into the pits, watching to see if Johnny Luna behind him does the same.
Luna's in. So other than St. Aubin pitting, we're waiting to see Bradley Hawley come by and see how much time he's lost. Actually going to try and check on the nose of his car here to see what I can see on that. It's not looking good still, I can tell you that. Here's St. Aubin. Mossman still taking his service. You're usually expecting about 16 to 18 seconds. He was 15 seconds, just under 16, I should say. So relatively quick stop as Hawley had 16.7. I'm guessing that Mossman is going to be through pretty easily and stay ahead of Bradley. There's Hawley with all the damage on the grill. And Mossman is already out of the pit lane and through turn one. It is a gap of nearly 6 seconds.
Yeah, so that damage there from Bradley definitely coming back to hurt him here. What's going to be interesting now is to see if Danny Cervantes behind him, who has had some very serious speed here, is going to be able to catch. That gap between him and Holly is only about 1.5 seconds.
Yeah, I'm trying to see what the pace looks like after that incident. I do see a 141, but I think that was when he was pitting in. Oh, excuse me, I'm looking at Cervantes right now. Holly, I see a 137 in there, and I think that may have been the lap that he actually hit, so that could have slowed him up. What we want to know is, what is he like now that he is in clean air and trying to push? Here's Danny Cervantes. It's down to 1.5 seconds. Looking at their speed comparison on my screen, and I think Cervantes is easily quicker.
Yeah, I think he is too, Joe. I think he is going to catch up to Bradley there. You can see Bradley right ahead of him. And now as we tick down just over 9 minutes to go, Bradley has got to use all of his skills to try to keep that number 25 at bay.
This is going to do some interesting things to the championship as well, because our championship leader is going to finish dead last. In fact, I think he's going to be a DNF with 0 points because he didn't make enough laps. Whereas Mossman is looking at a win, so he's likely to take over the points lead. And then Michaud is going to jump up the order from 5th, since he is in 5th on the track, and a 10 kph advantage down the front stretch for Cervantes over Holly. Last lap for Bradley was a 35.6, Cervantes a 34.6.
Yeah, so definitely some places to make up here for Cervantes. He's going to be coming on strong. Look at the speed he already has on him. He is already back up to Holly. Yeah, there is no way Holly is going to be able to hold on to this.
All these onboard shots whenever we come here to Lime Rock, or excuse me, to Long Beach. Starts with an L. Down Shoreline Drive, once again, Seaside Way, and Danny Cervantes seems to have the speed in a straight line, but he needs to be quicker over the entire lap is the problem. See Todd Lewis down in the pit lane. I'm not sure if that is an extra pit stop or if that is his second time in there. Whoa, and once again, for not the first time today, Bradley Holly spins the tires up coming off the corner. Cervantes is going to have an easy pass.
Yes, he is, just right to the outside, and that damaged front end of Holly, it is just coming back to bite him. Cervantes up into 2nd.
Okay, so Danny, who started this race in 3rd, finally gains a position over the course of this race, whereas we see Holly now dropping back one. Driver still who has the Hard Charger Award right now is Matthew St. Albin, up by 10 positions from 19th to 9th place. So you see him out on the track as returning. Todd Lewis finished his 2nd stop. I was right, that was his 2nd time down on the lane. Not sure if he just simply went a little bit too earlier on and had to make a splash and dash. Let's head over here, where we've got Michaud and Luna vying for 4th.
Yeah, this is a pretty good battle here. Johnny Luna chasing right now Michael Michaud. Good runs for both of them off of that final corner. Let's see what they've got as they head on to Seaside Way. Is Luna going to poke his nose around it? Doesn't look like it. He's going to stay in line here and see what else he can grab.
He's staying very close to that rear bumper, though. 5 minutes to go, so the laps are ticking down. Very tight to the apex, but maybe too tight, as it doesn't look like that was a quick exit. And indeed, Michaud is stretching away to the tune of about 6/10.
Yeah, that's not going to be good there. Only about 5.5 minutes to go, so Luna's going to know he's got to get a move on here.
Needs to get that slipstream. Got to focus on the exits, so those slow corners. Oh, it is much tighter, though, through turn 1. It seemed like Michaud slid a little bit and just missed the apex. Kept it out of the wall in the meantime. Ahead of this all, by the way, Mossman still leads by about 8 seconds, really under no threat whatsoever, and we haven't seen a change for Cervantes and Holly quite yet in their battle. This is the closest one we've got between P4 and P5.
And it certainly is shaping up to be a heck of a battle here in the closing stages of this race. Luna obviously lost a little bit out on that last lap, but he was very good coming on to Seaside Way. Let's see if he can continue that a little bit sideways there up front for Michael Michaud. Luna starting to charge.
Michaud trying to bring the mob back to Hollywood here with the Miata Mafia. And Johnny Luna is going to try and deny that sort of shenanigans happening. He's certainly making him sweat. The 497 just watching the mirrors, making sure that Luna doesn't get the charge that he needs. And now a completely opposite approach, which also doesn't work. And Luna is just struggling through the hairpin.
Yeah, it just looks like he can't get the power down the way he really wants to, and that's coming back to bite him, as the best overtaking opportunity for Luna would be down this main straight, but Michaud just has that final corner on lock and not giving him an inch of daylight. But the one other thing to keep in mind, look right ahead of that. That's only about 2.5 seconds up the road is the 184 of Bradley Holly. There is a chance that Michaud may be able to catch him.
Last lap time of 34.9 for Holly. Michaud to 34.6, 0.3 faster. It'll be extremely tight, and he'll have to keep making a slightly bigger inroads than that to really get close enough. But once he does, I suspect that front end damage will make it difficult for Holly to try and defend on the long straights around here. Still have 21 of our 22 starters racing right now. Peter Newhook is our only DNF out here.
It's really pretty impressive there, Joe. A good testament to the racing in this series that Newhook is the only DNF. Heading down now into the Firestone turn as they come around there. I'm impressed here with Bradley Holly being able to keep up to the back of Danny Cervantes. I thought for sure that car was going to be a sitting duck. He's keeping that gap under about a second.
Oh, end of the wall. Was that Luna? I think that was Luna. Once again, that corner is his Achilles heel, and it's Boucher that you can see in the background that is quickly approaching. Depending on what damage he got out of that, I'm not sure that Johnny's going to be able to retain this 5th place.
Yeah, I'm not sure he is either. Let's watch this on replay, Joe. Luna just comes out of that final corner, gets onto the throttle a little early, and boom, hits the wall. That ricochet sends him off. It's not going to be too much damage to the car, but it's going to be a lot of damage to his momentum.
Yeah, that looked a lot worse from the angle that we saw it before. Thought he had really plowed into it, so just a glance. And now we are on the penultimate lap. We'll get the white flag next time by for our drivers. Mossman on Seaside Way currently. That's not a car for position behind him. That is Mark Gassell there, and the 358 rather. Cervantes is a full 8.5 seconds back. Patrick Cowgill in the meantime, only half a second from Cabana. Looking to trying to crack into the top 10, but he's going to have to make a big move here because he's not close enough right now.
No, he's not, but he is certainly going to try to. These guys have kind of been in a lockstep battle this entire race up to this point. Cowgill trying to close as they make their way onto Seaside Way.
Yeah, this is where he needs that slipstream to try and reel him in. As for Michaud and Holly just ran a 35.9. Michaud a 34.7, so big chunk out that time from Michael, but he's still got to make up a 1.5 seconds as we watch this pair fighting for 10th. Cabana in the black car, the yellow belonging to Patrick Cowgill around the hairpin to receive the white flag.
Receive it indeed. He has gotten it, and so there they go. Cowgill knows it's now or never time.
He's going to make a move into the first corner. It's going to have to be a real lunge, so I don't think we're going to see this out of Cowgill. Just stays on the racing line, not showing his nose. Yeah, he's way too many car lengths back. Did take it through that turn quite quickly and gained a couple other car lengths. Now they break down into the fountain section. If he could set himself up for Firestone, he might have a chance. But before we get to that, we have the finish to the race. Here comes Frank Mossman showing off a little bit in the final hairpin as he takes victory number 3 this season. The 69 car is on a roll.
He is indeed, Joe. Frank Mossman crossing over the line to take victory at Long Beach. It looks like Danny Cervantes will be able to take that second place position. Behind him, Bradley Holly able to hold off a charging Michael Michaud.
Yeah, Holly salvaging at least a podium out of that. Not his best race. Bergquist behind Larson by about 0.3 of a second at the line, and Cowgill was not close enough into Firestone. Does he dare down into hairpin? No, he does not. We've seen a few tries at that, and they rarely go well. So it's going to be Cabana who takes that 10th spot, and Cowgill having to settle for 11th. 15 drivers on the lead lap this time. Last of them are actually just about done here, so it's time to go through our race results here at Long Beach for round 5. Frank Mossman, your winner by a little over 7 seconds over Danny Cervantes, who survived a little bit better than Bradley Holly, but not completely without mistake. Michael Michaud finished P4 as Johnny Luna was 5th with a late scare there around the hairpin. Jacques Boucher was in 6th place, and you've got Jason Larson in P7, Kevin Bergquist in 8th, and 10 positions up for Matthew St. Aubin from his 19th starting position. Ian Cabana rounds out your top 10.
Coming home in 11th, it was Patrick Cowgill who was unable to chase down Cabana with Danny Duchesne and Daniel Williams behind him. Malcolm Foster was 14th, followed by Pleat Bladden with Mark Gassel and Robert Gallinotto in 17th. Gassel a lap down, Gallinotto 2 laps down, as was Todd Lewis in 18th. Adam Young was 6 laps down, as was Pete Thomas, with Sean Vincent and Peter Newhook not having a great day out there in 21st and 22nd.
And we've got our winner ready to talk to us, Frank Mossman, who had plenty of battles before it even got to that, though. Frank, it looked like you made a bit of a burnout competition of the start. What happened there?
Yep, just tried doing my normal thing, but, just a little bit too much. Let off the clutch a little too fast, and a lot of wheel spin came out of it.
Had another big scare in turn 1 when you hit the wall pretty hard and then Holly got into the back of you. How much damage were you feeling? Because it didn't look like it hurt your pace too badly.
Yeah, it wasn't that bad, which was... sorry, let me just meet him real quick. It wasn't that bad, actually. Just a little bent, but it was just unfortunate, Long Beach, a lot of walls, not any runoff. And so you just can't really get a lot out of it, and if you mess up, then stuff like that's gonna happen. And so
with Newhook's DNF and your 3rd win, you're now launched way up into the lead on points. How do you feel like things are going so far in the championship?
I think they're doing good. Going into the championship, like I think we were 2 points behind going into it because of our penalty points, but I think we'll end up pretty far ahead, and so we just gotta keep getting consistent finishes and try to just be on the podium as much as we can.
Well, back-to-back wins is pretty consistent, sir. Congratulations. Anybody you want to thank for this one?
I would like to thank Move Up Lynchburg, Race Factory, Freedom USA, United 4Kids, Get Stuck, Driven Texas, Extreme Sim Racing, and of course my dad and everyone else that's involved.
That was Frank Mossman, and up next, DJ is talking to Danny Cervantes, who finished P2 late in the race with a pass.
Indeed, Danny, that was a bit of a yo-yo race for you, up and down, but second place at Long Beach, that's always something to hang your hat on.
Yes, it is. This is one of my favorite tracks. I started racing this track on another sim on consoles and was always pretty good there. So once I saw that this was on the calendar, that's when I decided to sign up for the series just so I could race this track specifically.
Well, there you go, and I'd say that's a pretty good one there for you. Obviously, your start was pretty remarkable. You had just an absolute run there, and then unfortunately fell back. But talk me through your mindset as you got off the line.
So when I got off the line, immediately first thing that jumped in my mind was, is there a 3-wide rule here? Because I typically race on the oval side, and we do have a no 3-wide before turn 1 rule. So I asked my teammate Bradley, he's like, hey, do we have a 3-wide? He's like, nope, not that I know of. So I decided to go for it, and then it all came unraveled once we went to the fountain area, because we were side by side, and that's not really the quickest way around, and that's when I got relegated back to 3rd or 4th behind Johnny.
Well, as you said, we are used to seeing you on the oval side, but obviously a great run here halfway through the season. How are you feeling about it, and what are your goals going forward?
Obviously, the goal is always to, first of all, get a win. I've never won a PRL race in iRacing. I have done it in other sims, but hopefully I can get a first win either here or on the oval side. It'd be fun if I get it here on the road side first. And obviously contend for the championship. I know we'll see how points go after the drop week, and how much it moves me up or down, depending on how everyone else's drop week factors in too.
Well, we'll be doing the math as well, Danny, but anybody you'd like to thank for this second place?
I'd like to thank all you guys over at GSRC, and I'd like to thank all the sponsors over PRL, Advanced SimRacing, Ninja Trader, the other ones, Advanced SimRacing, Ninja Trader, and all the other sponsors that put this series together, and the stewards. They make it so that we don't have to race officials and deal with all the dummies over there. We could have nice, clean racing, and yeah.
Well, we are more than happy to put it on when you guys put on such a good race like this. Thank you so much, Danny, and congratulations again on second place.
Yeah, thanks, you guys.
It was Danny Cervantes, your second place finisher, and now Joe Peak, for the second night in a row, will be able to catch up with your third place finisher, Bradley Holly.
Indeed, and it's a third place here for Brad, but it certainly looked like there was a lot of excitement between you and Frank, and it unfortunately came down to contact, but this time it looked like you kind of got the bad end of the stick.
Oh, absolutely. Nothing he did wrong this week in that aspect. He just clipped the wall, and I did not anticipate him to lose the amount of speed he did. And by the time I realized it was just too late, and absolutely killed my car.
It looked like you were a bit down on top speed. Do you think you could have tried to fight Danny if you didn't have that mistake out of the hairpin?
No, I was at least a second off pace from that after the contact with Frank, and it's just a little disappointing, but we can go into next week, and hopefully me and him can have a clean race and have a nice tight battle.
Well, I have to imagine it's going to probably stay tight because, well, it's Bathurst, and those long straights are going to keep you guys tucked in together on these little MX-5s. Are you looking forward to that?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I expect most tracks from here on out are going to be all about draft, and, just I'll play my games and see what we can do to try to get a win, or at least stay in the top two.
Well, regardless, it is still a podium. Is there anybody you want to thank that helped make it happen?
I like to thank you guys for broadcasting us week in and week out. You always put on a great show. The Waterback guys, we always try practicing and figuring out what we need to do to be up front, and the PRL and everybody in the all the organizers that help put on all these races that we have.
Great stuff there from third place finisher here today, Bradley Holly, in the MX-5 Cup Series. But again, it is not over. We have the GT3 Pro Series coming your way in just a few minutes' time, heading off to Interlagos, so stick around. Welcome back here to the Precision Racing League. We have now arrived at Interlagos. This is a track perhaps more well known for its Formula One ties, but sports cars do race here, so why don't we head down to our track guide. Welcome to Autodromo's Jose Carlos Pache. Most fans and drivers simply know this place as Interlagos. Starting life as an absolute behemoth of a circuit, this Brazilian track was eventually truncated to the version you see today. Having hosted Formula One for roughly 3 decades, it's become very well known on the international stage. But it has also held rounds in the World Endurance Championship, as well as frequently seen Brazilian stock cars, motorcycles, and even truck racing. There's little difference between its two layouts, which includes the GP course and the Moto course, which simply adds a chicane to the end of the lap. In both cases, it's a tale of 2 circuits. The run past the start-finish line and into the Senna S, followed by the blast towards the Descida do Lago, are very high-speed sections that come back-to-back. Drivers will need to focus on top end in order to attack or defend. Expect most passes to happen in those 2 corners. But from Ferradura until Junção, the track suddenly twists itself into a mess of hairpins and frustratingly technical turns. This can make car setup a real compromise, and for the latter part of the lap, an absolute pain when dealing with traffic. Pit exit is also a narrow affair, so it requires drivers to take care when trying to maximize their outlaps. On the upside, with this being a modern F1 track, there's paved runoff in abundance at many of the fast corners. The passion of the Brazilian fans always comes out in force at races, and it's no wonder with this picturesque track sandwiched right amongst the neighborhoods of Sao Paulo. As we look at it from above, DJ, why don't you talk us a little bit about how these GT3 cars will handle at this track?
Well, Joe, I have a hunch that they're going to handle quite well around here. Interlagos is an old school circuit, and that does not mean that there are not plenty of opportunities to overtake. Specifically, coming down the long curving front stretch and into the Senna S, look for some good dives there and some good fight backs as they go through that Senna S in the Curva do Sol. We can also see some moves going down Retro Oposta and into Descida do Lago. But from there on out, it is a very, very technical middle sector of this track. Down through Esse and Perejinho and Bico de Pato, going through that, you're not going to see a lot of moves. Now, the one thing that is going to be good for these GT3s is there's not a whole lot of aero wash here, so they are going to be able to keep close very behind everybody else. But the biggest thing that they've got to focus on is keep relatively close through that middle sector and then nail the junction. If you can get a good run out of the junction and onto the straight, that means you're going to set yourself up for a good pass.
Yeah, you can see just how long it stretches down to the Senna S. But things are getting into the mid-stretch for the championship. Daniel Ferguson now only 6 points ahead of Ludicky, who has closed in with the win last week. Rodrigo Mies, Stephen Ash, and Guillaume Levesque a little bit of a distance behind at this stage, but still fighting amongst each other quite closely. We also have a teams championship, which remains interesting as well.
We do indeed. Pure Sims Esports has a 34-point advantage over the rest of the field, but we are very close. They're in the back, an actual tie between ASRX, Able Esports, and Vendaval SimRacing Black, both tied 30.4 points back of the leader. Bit of a jump into the tune of about 50 points back to Radicals Online 465 Garage, and only about 3 points back there for Punto CL Racing Black. So very good battles for second and fourth. Pure Sims, though, are going to be looking to try to pull away here just a little bit.
Now, if you were watching for the previous race of the MX-5s at Long Beach, this is going to be pretty similar, except tack 5 minutes onto the race itself. 40-minute race, round 5 yet again, and also open setup. Drive through penalties. Now, they have a lot of paved runoff here, and you could certainly rack those up if you try and push those boundaries in a couple spots. So don't want to get disqualified from this one. Valuable points still at stake, including the bonus points, which are for the clean race, the fastest lap, and the pole position. We're still waiting to see who gets that pole position, because right now we're into our 10-minute qualifying. A lot of the drivers on their first flyer right now.
Yeah, indeed they are, waiting for these times to come on out. Now again here we're seeing a pretty even split between the popular cars, Porsches, BMWs, and some Lamborghinis out there. Remember last time at Road America, it looked like the Lamborghinis were really struggling. We'll have to see if that tune changes around here today.
Watching from Bouchard here, coming along past Subidos dos Boxes in the water tower onto the start-finish straight. You can see this is the slightly older version before they added the newer pit entry with the wall going back farther. And Cortez was the first to set a time, but he's quickly demoted by a whole bunch of drivers, including Rodrigo Mies, who has the provisional pole of our first few across the line.
Yeah, so that's going to be Mies holding on to it for now. Only about a tenth of a second between him and Diego Morales. Andrew Perron very close there as well. Antoine Lackerite doing a good job to be in fourth. Stephen Ash able to bump his way up into seventh right now. Still waiting for a few more drivers to come across the line.
And somebody parking it there in the Descida del Lago. Bouchard not happy with how that lap was going. He's got plenty of others, but this will cost him a little bit of extra time to try and come back around. If he comes back out, and he's just kind of sitting stationary in there. I wonder if he wanted to make some adjustments there to try and find some more speed or comfort. And Spencer Kostovich is now our fastest driver in the qualifying session by about a tenth over Rodrigo Mies. We are waiting on some other fast ones. Daniel Ferguson has not crossed the line yet. The 6.76 is actually coming up the front stretch right now. Let's see what kind of time he can put in. A 31.2, and a shocker for Ferguson on this first lap. That's only 13th for him.
Yeah, that's a very slow lap for Ferguson. Not what I would expect it all out of him, but he's still got some time to try to get a new one up here.
So now we check in with Levesque as well. Guillaume currently sitting in sixth. Here's his onboard. Might want to get some sun, though, there, based on his complexion. This time across, unfortunately, it was deleted, so he'll stay in sixth. He gets 2 more tries.
Yeah, 2 more cracks at the apple here, so he'll have to see what he can do as they go along. Ooh, that's somebody off there.
Hard, still trying to get the car up to speed, so I don't think this one's going to count anyways. I wonder if he's just going to try and get a long run here, just get a better launch. We're going to watch the onboard with Bouchard across the line. Now he starts a flyer, and I do believe, yeah, he should have enough time for the final 2 here.
Yeah, he should. So here he's going to go try to get that out and moving. And you see him coming down the Senna S right there. A lot of concentration that it takes to be able to get that corner just right.
We're still missing 4 drivers on the timing sheet. Goodway, Torchio, Gagnon, Renault, and Benito. But Ian Gagnon Renault in the 19 has not taken to the track, so I'm guessing he's probably going to start from the back. Torchio just put in his first lap. It's a 31.5, good enough for 20th. So we're now into the infield portion here with Bouchard into the horseshoe. And this is where it starts to get very technical and tricky.
Yeah, so much elevation change. Very easy to spin your tires coming up and around through here. Dives it down there nicely, though. Looks like he's on it relatively well. Now he crests over the hill. Again, you've got to straighten that car up before braking into the right-hander of Bico de Bato, and now he's going to come down the hill. Breathe the throttle a little bit as you come down through that corner and get ready for the junction.
Things are starting to look a little bit dire for Ferguson. He came across the line, and that one didn't count for him again, as Bouchard out of the junction and up towards the start-finish line. Let's see if this is going to be an improvement on that 31.026. Just keeping it as straight as possible and tucked up to the inside wall. It's a 30.8. That is definitely roughly 0.2 quicker. That'll get him into 7th. And Lewis Goodway just went up to 9th now that he's finally put a time down. Looks like Bouchard parking it after that lap. Not interested in doing the final one.
No, not interested at all, but he's going to try to do something with it. I can guarantee you, working his way around right now. That one of the lone Mercedes out here on track.
Not looking like a popular car today. Torchio didn't improve. We're down to 2.5 minutes left. I'm watching Kostovich, who's out there ready to set his third time. We're on board with Goodway. In the meantime, watching from his dash, Kostovich goes quicker to a 30.488. That's another couple hundredths.
A great run there for Kostovich, so that's going to keep him up on the top of the boards as of right now. Let's see if Lewis Goodway's got anything to respond with.
I have Ferguson on my screen right now, though. We're going to keep watching Goodway, and Ferguson has another lap deleted, unfortunately. We'll have just enough time to get back around. And the reason we're talking about him is he's our championship leader coming into this, so this is unbelievable that the 676 is struggling this bad. There you see him on the screen now.
Yeah, Ferguson just not looking like he has this track mastered. And to be fair, it's one of those tracks you either love or you hate. There's a very distinct flow to it, and you've got to try to get everything in and get it just right. If you're off a little bit through one corner in this middle section, it can throw you for the whole rest of the lap.
The good news for him is that Ludicky is not too far up the road on the grid right now, unless he improves on his last lap, which he's finishing right now, and he gets down to a 30.9. He jumps up to 9th, so Ferguson now starting to lose touch. He's going to be about 3 rows behind him. And can the 676 manage this in the last time of asking? Only the first lap has counted for him thus far. It seems like it's been within the track boundaries, although that went quite wide. They're out of the junction. On to the front stretch now. The 676 has got to get a good one in, or he's going to just have to fight his way through a lot of cars for a good result across the line. A 30.9, and that's good enough for 10th. That is right ahead of Ludicky.
Oh my goodness. So we've got a little bit of a showdown there in that 10th place position, Joe.
And that's the last of our drivers able to set a time. And that means Spencer Kostovich is going to get the bonus for the pole position. Rodrigo Mies behind him by just shy of 0.2 of a second, with Diego Morales starting from 3rd. Andrew Caron will be P4, and Stephen Ash is 5th. You've got Antoine Lacharite in 6th, followed by Guillaume Levesque in 7th. And it's Phil Bouchard 8th, and Horatio Calquin 9th. Daniel Ferguson rounding out your top 10.
In 11th, it's Nick Ludicky, followed by Lewis Goodway, with Manuel Scoli in 13th and Gonzalo Cortez in 14th. Dallas Pataska will be lining up in 15th, following by Maxime Tillanuve in 16th. Chris Ferragiano will be 17th, and Patricio Campos del Rio will be lining up to the outside of him. And bringing up in row 10, it'll be Hugo Gallo and Pablo Uribe.
Ooms will start from 21st, and Torchio will be on his outside. James David starts from 23rd, followed by Christian Raditz in the 24th position. Then it's Rafael Russo, who has Dave Menino next to him. Teddy Lowendick was the last one able to set a time. Gagnon Renault is in the session. We'll see if he decides to grid up or not, because he'll start tail in Charlie here today for round 5. As for temperatures, it's actually amazingly a little bit cooler than what we saw out in California. Only 78 degrees Fahrenheit on the track surface as we check in with one of our onboards here today. This is Bouchard that we are showing on the screen, just getting himself ready to go, chatting away probably with a teammate now.
Yeah, just having a little bit of communication there, talking maybe a little bit about fuel strategy, about what they want to do here as they go along. Track temperatures, a little bit chilly. It's about 78 degrees Fahrenheit, but 80% humidity. That means there's a lot more air to push these GT3s down into the ground. That will be important.
And no surprise on that one. We are in a tropical climate here in Brazil, so it's going to be a little bit muggy for them. Let's look at some of our other onboards. I believe we've got Teddy Lowendick, who is always a favorite. Where is Teddy gridding up here today? Looks like he'll be starting second to last, actually. And he's got his NBC team shirt on once again for us here today. Giving a bit of a look about something there. Not sure what cause that sort of reaction. And then we also have Levesque, who we saw a little bit earlier. He's going to be starting from 7th on the grid, so 4th row for the Canadian there. Now, Lasharite is going to be the last of our cameras. He starts just ahead of him in row 3 in 6th position.
Yes, indeed, and there you can see him looking through that corner. Everybody just getting ready to go.
He let off behind the pace car. Rolling start as opposed to what we saw before with the MX-5s, where, and look at the tire warming that we're getting out of Lasharite, just trying to get those that rubber up to the desired working temperatures. So how soon will we see Kostovic go? Will he try and jump it as soon as that pace car is in, or is he going to give it a little bit of time and get knees checked up and catch him napping? Everybody trying to get nice and tidy here, and these dual lines wanting to be as close as they can to try and attack down to the Senna S. A bit notorious for having incidents as well, so they need to be careful into that plunging set of left-right corners that bleeds into Curva de Sol. Here we go. Green flag is out. They're off immediately, and it's a great start for Spencer. Defensive move from Rodrigo, but it's not far enough to the inside. Here comes Morales down there as they go 3 wide for second place. Everybody behind scattering a bit as somebody goes off into the runoff. Looking to see if there are any other issues. I'm not seeing anything currently. Oh, we got a spinner at the very back. Christian Radis loses it on his own. Otherwise, Kostovic with a strong start, and Mies not so much.
That was Rodrigo Mies getting very defensive, coming down the Retro de Posta there, trying to block off any attack from Diego Morales. Morales is going to be a little bit stewing about that, but watch that Ferrari behind. Andrew Caron, he saw that, and he saw the checkup that Morales had to do.
This is great for the 18 car. He's already about a second ahead of them, and they're only halfway through the lap. Plunging down into Essa now. Oh, and they go 3 wide behind them, back around 12th place. Somehow they come out the other side on that one. Ludicky involved. Looks like Cortez was the one, I think, that tried to send that one in.
I think it was indeed, and that's good way very close behind, but we've got a crash in the back. That's the 09 machine of Gonzalo Cortez.
Oh, and a few others get collected in it. Scully. And then looks like Russo. Oh, and Russo makes secondary contact with Raditz, who was trying to take advantage of that. Looks like Raditz will get a position as Russo gets tumbled off into the weeds.
All right, so let's take a look at this, Joe. This is the 09 here. Right into the back and just gets spun around. That was the 24 of Scully that got into the back of him and sent him spinning.
Slow corner, thankfully, so it looks like a lot of people had time to try and get out of the way of that. And here's the second incident. Raditz was a little ambitious trying to take advantage of the 2 slow cars, and it was Russo who paid the price. Well, as all that's been happening, we've completed lap 1. Kostovic is your leader. Morales is in second, and Mies is in third, but it might not be that way for long, because look at how close the 88 is to the back of the 22.
Yeah, he's certainly closing in there the best that he can. Let's see what he is able to do as they start to make their way around.
Through the Ducksville. They did change hands on the Red Aposta, by the way. Morales got a better run, overtook Mies. Not much of a fight from the 88 this time down through that corner. But what about out of the junction? Drivers try to maximize that exit, taking as wide of an entry as they can, getting on the throttle. And now they run up the hill being led by Morales. It's a train of them, Mies behind, Karen in there, Ash, Bouchard, Levesque, Lasharite, Cal Quinn, and Ferguson all the way back to 10th.
Everybody getting shuffled around here as Kostovic sets the fastest lap of the race. This battle, though, for the podium positions continuing to be hot, as this is BMW versus Porsche versus Ferrari. And don't discount Stephen Ash there lurking back in 5th. He could take advantage if something goes wrong.
So Mies watching from behind, Liking that second place back if he can get it, but he's not going to attempt it here down into the lake descent. Everybody's staying in line behind them, so I wonder if driver's just trying to get things going, tick some laps off before we have more action. We've already had plenty of crazy moves here in the first couple laps, and down to the inside. Morales, unfortunately, going to give that one back on a silver platter and might even lose third. Here comes Karen, but it switches back. It is a series of hairpins through this part of the circuit. Karen now has the inside into the duck's bill and gets the job done into third.
Yes, he does. So that's a good move on forward there. Kudos to Karen.
Don't think this is over. Look how close Morales is. He is watching that Ferrari. Wants to try and get the Bimmer just ahead of him as they climb up the hill. The 06 giving a nice slipstream. He's losing the slipstream to Mies as they get up to 150 miles an hour. This is looking like we could see a lunge if the 22 feels like he's got a shot. No, he is going to stay in line.
Trying to take the discretion is the better part of valor around here, so I like that from him. Being very, very careful as they go around.
Still have 25 of the 27 starters out there racing. Scully and Raditz have had to take to the pits to get repairs. Somebody in the background I saw poking their nose in. And I think that is going to be Lewis Goodway defending on Ludicky. Ooh, and Ludicky had a big moment coming off of there. Had to really catch the slide. Pataska thinks he can maybe do something with this. The 25 coming up around the outside into the horseshoe, but nothing doing on that angle.
No, nothing to make there. Now they're going to just slide into line. That's a little bit of a look down there on the inside for Ludicky, but not enough to really go for. This continues to heat up around here, Joe.
Task's got two cars right in front of him that he could maybe try and get some positions from, depending on what kind of exit he can get out of the junction. And update, Alessandro Torchio just had a half spin in the infield, kept it from hitting anything, but he lost about 4 spots. Now out of the junction, Pataska trying to catch up to Ludicky, but he didn't seem to have the best of exits. Goodway might be under threat, but it's not looking likely.
No, I don't think so here at this point. It really doesn't look like he's going to be able to get anything too close, but that doesn't mean it is out of it quite yet.
No, because we got another run down the Red Aposta. Don't forget, you have to exit out of Curva de Sol quite well. And Nick is decent, but still seems a bit stuck behind the orange 74. We have Jeffrey Ooms in the meantime in the 97, doing a very stylish turn to get back on the track, but there's no points for style here. There is a penalty, unfortunately, for spinning off, and that is time.
Yeah, exactly. Let's see what happens here. He just comes in, gets a little bit too much of that exit. Ooh. Did he get into the back? Was that Tillinoof that got into the back of him?
Double checking. And yeah, Tillinoof, both of them were very wide there. And looks like I'm checking, and he does not make contact.
All right there, Joe. There you go. Just a little bit of an error there from him, and that'll certainly send him around in not the greatest of ways to get this race going.
Yeah, we're still very early, only 8 minutes into it, not even to the opening of the pit window. And the 97 falls to 24th. It's Kostovich who's leading up at the front in the 18. It's up to about 2 seconds over Mies. And after Mies put some distance between himself and Karen, Andrews responded. The 06 is now within about 0.4 of a second of the 88. So it looks like that Ferrari's got some pace underneath it.
Yeah, it certainly does. One of the few drivers here that is in that Ferrari, but he is certainly making it work, let me tell you.
Question is, can he overtake? And does he need to worry about Morales behind him? Diego started in the spot where Andrew sits right now. And he's going to want that one back. They now come through the horseshoe. Double apex right-hander with quite a crest right in the middle of it. And as they all accordion together, nobody's still making moves among them. To me, this is where I feel like you can tell we're watching the pros here, DJ, is that the passes are usually very calculated. You don't see these crazy moves as much.
No, for sure, Joe. They are definitely gathering everything under them. They want to make sure that they're doing this the right way and not going too crazy.
Can't risk the car in this series. Certainly, you got to try and finish high up with how many drivers there are here in this one. If you slip up, we already saw what happened to Jeffrey Ooms. He just lost position after position. And these three are going to stay in position yet again, second, third, and fourth, basically trying to grab scraps. Oh, behind them is getting very, very close, though. Stephen Ash and Bouchard are getting right on top of each other.
Yes, indeed, they are. That is Bouchard coming in. Whoa, a little bit of a fan out in the back there. I believe that's the number 11 in the back, trying to make that move. Hold on. That's the 773 trying to get around him. But there, whoa, there is some fun going down there into the Interlagos.
I think a slight bit of contact, and Ash had to catch the car as it got squirrely into the Interlagos. He'll have the inside, but he's not fully there. Coming into the horseshoe, tries to fight back. Bouchard, in the meantime, is looking like he is not able to complete the passes, breaking deep. Stephen Ash making him work for it. I'd love to see the onboard here with the 773. Finally gets ahead of Stephen Ash. There we can see, and he is definitely relaying some information as he's starting to back up everybody behind him. Levesque, Vacharite, Cal Quinn, and Ferguson are starting to catch. Ferguson's still in that 10th spot where he began this race.
He is indeed, and there we see him just focused on in keeping that around on this long straightaway. A couple of drivers poking their noses this way and that, seeing what they can find.
Got the same sort of pressure again. It was into this first corner where the drivers behind him started to catch up. Not sure if he made any sort of mistake. Lunging down the hill, and in the background you can see a pass being attempted. Oh, and some contact between Ferguson and Cal Quinn. Ferguson does not make the move, and Cal Quinn retains ninth.
Yes, he does. We're going to jump back to a replay on that with Cal Quinn right now. So following here, this is the 666 in front, Ferguson on board. Now remember, this is Porsche versus Ferrari. Here's Ferguson, and that Pearson's Esports tries to make that lunge down the inside, and just look at that commitment there. Oh, banging doors.
Six is giving hell today. He is certainly going to make it tough trying to take that ninth spot. Still stuck in line, though, and as soon as they have some sort of incident... Oh, and second place, Karen on knees. Is he able to get by? Yes, he is. Andrew Karen now up into second place.
That Ferrari starting to stretch its legs a little bit here, but Rodrigo Mies now looks like he's got a good run going into the junction. Both drivers very, very wide, trying to maximize speed around the exit. There they go, pushing it hard. Little bit of a squirrel there, shifting up through the gears for Rodrigo Mies. I think that may cost him just enough to have a move on the straightaway here.
And I don't think that Ferrari's close enough to Porsche. Just can't seem to reel him in. But Mies and Morales are veterans of this series. Karen is a little bit more of the newcomer. As we got a battle with Levesque, and he gets a nose in on Ash, but can't quite pass.
Yeah, he's not able to get it done just yet, but he'll get another crack at the apple here down the retro posta. Here he comes. We're seeing this BMW be wickedly fast in the straight line here today. Levesque trying to close in, not able to do it quite yet, but just keeping calm as he works his way around.
From Levesque, who's on one of the cars that seem to be desired here today. Some of the drivers telling us that the BMW is extremely fast here. That turbo with the high altitude is working wonders.
Yeah, it really is, Joe, and it's kind of something that we see a little bit sometimes in Formula One as well. You remember the conversations that would go on with Mercedes and Renault and Ferrari when they'd get to Mexico City, or indeed here at Interlagos. Higher altitude, those turbos can help out a little bit and make the cars a little bit faster, but good run there for Levesque coming out. Let's see how he manages there coming out of the junction. Ran a little bit wide over the curve there. I don't think that's going to help him too much.
And a reminder for viewers who are new, they cannot swap cars over the course of the season unless iRacing has a BOP, in which case they will sometimes give them an opportunity to switch. I'll need to double check what exactly the rules are on that. But otherwise, what you pick at the start is what you got to deal with behind them. Someone going wide in a Lambo. That was Cal Quinn. Just getting a little too dangerously close to Lasharite and had to pull out of it.
All right, and we have Maxime Villeneuve into the pits here. A little early on the pit stop window, but I think that could be strategic. We'll have to wait and see.
Back up to the battle for second. Knees following into the infield portion. And Morales also back there by about 0.3 of a second. These three are unable to separate themselves. Is it just me? Is Bichard actually closing some? I want to say he was farther back than he was before.
No, he is certainly closing. He was about 0.2 of a second faster than Morales in front of him, so this could become a 4-car battle here if they're not careful.
Indeed, he could bring a few friends as well. There's a bit of a gap between Bouchard and the next one back. That's Stephen Ash, but it's not a whole lot. So we could go back to that 10-car train that we saw before. And at the back of it is Ferguson, unfortunately, still unable to make any overtakes. Look at this. This is very close for Mies. The closest we've seen him in a minute, coming up the front stretch into one of the main places you tend to see passes here, but not this time, as Mies made a little lift.
Yeah, Mies opting out of it. Oh, but we are side by side. That's Levesque and Ash going at it in the background. Ooh, little bit of a bump there for Stephen Ash. I think he's a little bit upset that he lost that position to Guillaume. Here they come down the straight, though. Is there going to be a fight back from Stephen Ash going down into the Descida del Lago? That's Levesque trying to cover it off. He's going to make Ash go around the long way around.
Late defense there from Levesque. Stephen holding tough, though. Can he keep his nose in? Oh, I think they made a little contact. Both of them keep it together. Down into the braking of the horseshoe on the inside. Stephen Ash is ahead. Is he fully through? Yes, he is. He's got the spot back.
Oh, that is some great defense there from Stephen Ash and some great battling from Guillaume Levesque. It's really top-tier driving. You said it earlier, Joe. You can tell we're running with the pros here tonight.
Just behind them had some contact into Essa with Ferguson, Calquin, and Lasharite. So they have gotten a little too close to one another as well. Things are heating up amongst our rivals here towards the top. Ludicky now just ahead of Pataska and behind Goodway. This is a battle for 11th.
Yeah, so jumping back into the field there. Here he comes, trying to close in the back on that Mercedes. Remember, it is the lone Mercedes out here in the field. Ludicky trying to see what he can get. Waiting. You can't make too aggressive of a move here because that is Pataska, as you said, Joe, lurking behind. Is that Pataska going for a move? Are we about to go three wide, going down into the Senna S? No, that is just going to be Pataska trying to see what he can pick up.
Also, mysteriously, it looked like Stephen Ash gave the position back to Levesque on the front stretch. I'm not sure if that was intentional or not. We'll have to go back and investigate that later, but very strange swapping of positions between non-teammates. And we've had a couple, or at least one more pitter. James David comes in the 89.
Yeah, indeed, Joe. There is Ash on your screen right now. Yeah, I'm not sure if he did that because of the contact, if maybe he was worried about a penalty. We'll have to sort of dive in and figure that out. But I'll tell you what, right now, Levesque in that Vanderbilt machine doing a really good job. We focus back here on that battle we were following earlier, though. That is Lewis Goodway with Nick Ludicky trying to close in.
Ludicky is just practically pushing him through the corners. The way he is riding that bumper. Pataska stronger on the brakes that time, down into the duck's bill. Question is, who's strong out of the junction? This is that critical corner, and way wide. Ludicky was way out there trying to open up the turn too much. He's off into the grass. Does he keep it out of the wall? I think he just barely did, but Tasca will get the spot, and Campos Del Rio will probably be able to outgun him down towards the Senna S, unless he pits now. No, he's going to stay out. Washarite is pitting at this time, leaving the door open. Campos Del Rio is going to try and take the opportunity. A little bit of contact between them. Ludicky retains that 12th place. Can we get an onboard of Nick coming out of the junction? My goodness. If he didn't touch the wall, it was inches to spare. And no, I don't think we're going to get to yet, because look at that defensive move. Nope, we are going to go take a look at it. No pass made, I can tell you, so nothing, didn't miss anything. But here we go.
All right, so here he is lining this up. Yeah, you said very wide coming into the corner, trying to carry as much momentum as possible, and then very wide on the exit, touches that grass, almost going for a Kimi Räikkönen position, going out into the stands. He was inches from that wall, Joe. Whew.
Well, Nick lives to fight another day, and he is having to fight today because Campos Del Rio continues to apply pressure here for that 12th spot.
Yes, he does. That Lamborghini trying to challenge the Porsche here a little bit. Both running very wide on the exit of junction. Let's see if Ludicky can be able to keep it in line. There it is. Crossed over that a little bit more, but he is definitely trying to get it on there.
It's got the slipstream. It's Lambo versus Porsche, and he's got pretty good speed here. But he's not got enough speed. He's going to have to wait for another try a little bit later. Very lively in the mid-pack here today for the PRL GT3 Pro Series. But it's also been intense up for the second place. Not so much for the lead. We're not showing him because, well, it's about 4 seconds, and Kostovic has just been cruising. But second place has changed hands multiple times between each of these three drivers. Karen currently holds it, Mies wants it, and Morales is at the tail of the train.
Yes, he is, and this is that battle for P2. Andrew Karen doing a good job of keeping everyone at bay here, but Mies just looks like he is all over the back of him, waiting to pounce at the next opportunity.
Through Mugello and into the junction. Wow, look at how much that Ferrari of Andrew Karen is also willing to try and take it wide. He keeps it on the track, though. But Mies, I think Mies has got a great shot. He looks very strong. He's close enough to within about a car length and a half as we watch from the rear bumper of the 06 Ferrari. Maybe I called it too soon.
Yeah, it just looks like that Porsche stalling out a little bit, not able to fully get ahead. I'm not sure entirely if Mies is lifting or if just that Ferrari's got a little bit more straight line speed. I am hearing that Mies was lifting a little bit there, Joe, so we could be seeing just a hair of fuel saving. This is good way in Pataska, though.
Yeah, we haven't talked a whole lot about it because it's not really a track we usually think of as a fuel-saving track, but every little bit can count and give you that advantage that you need. The highest driver to have pitted is Antoine in the 21, currently sitting in 20th place. And he was, I think, in the top 10, was he not, when he pitted, I want to say? So I think it's going to be costly. It's going to send you well down the order when you pit if you take an early stop.
Yeah, this is a relatively short track, relatively high speeds around here. The slowest speed corner that you really have is what they are going through right now in Pierre-Henio. And so that even is about a second gear corner. So very, very quick lap times around here.
Back onto the front stretch once again. Is Mies going to still lift and coast? Is he going to save in the draft of the Ferrari? Well, the Ferrari doesn't want to give it to him. He stays very wide. That is interesting. Karen not really wanting to play those games today. And Mies not close enough yet again. Morales also not getting all that tight to the rear bumper of the 88 Porsche either.
I wonder if we're seeing a little bit of gamesmanship out of this out of the third and fourth place car here, just being a little content to ride around behind. It is a very, very long straight here that runs from the junction all the way down to the Senna S, so you can definitely save a little bit of fuel there, and if that's what they're thinking of doing, I gotta say that Rodrigo Mies is doing a heck of a job with it.
I think so too. He could be pulling a fast one. And Gonzalo Cortez also pitting from farther down in the field. Don't need to go to him, but we are seeing a few start to affect some stops and getting very close to the back of Karen. Mies almost pushing that car through the corner. The 06 is looking pretty cool to his credit. He's hasn't been trying to make wild defenses. He hasn't really been erratic and making major mistakes, knock on wood. So he's dealing with Mies quite well, but I'm not sure if this is going to go his way, if Mies is saving a fair bit of fuel so far in this race.
Yeah, I'm riding on board with Rodrigo right now, waiting for that lift, seeing what he's doing. He's not necessarily following in the perfect slipstream of the 06, getting the car up to speed here. That's a big early lift coming into this. Oh!
There's the mistake, Karen! Hit by the commentator's curse. Falls down to fourth, going too deep into the first corner. Mies is through, and so is Morales. Just out of nowhere, the 06 almost looks like he just forgot where his brake marker was.
Yeah, just absolutely off. Able to get it really before he gets onto the grass, which will be helpful for him, and he'll be very thankful for that, but not exactly what you want to see.
No, not at all. In fact, he lost about a second to Morales, so it is still able to be caught, and he could get back into it, but he's got some work to do. He's bringing along Bouchard with him as well now, as Bouchard's going to feel the slipstream from him. That's one advantage to the 773 for sure. 15 minutes, less than 15 minutes really, left on the clock, and we're still waiting for a lot of drivers to come in. So it seems like the call of the day is to go as long as possible.
It's certainly looking that way, Joe, and that's what we see a lot of times in a series like this. I wouldn't be surprised if we see absolutely everybody diving down the pits here in maybe 3 to 5 minutes' time, just all drivers trying to get to the very, very end of that pit stop cycle.
So there's Bouchard's laps versus Karen's on your screen. And Karen was definitely faster for most of them until, of course, that last one had a mistake. So that's why we see Karen suddenly just chop that gap down significantly. Looks like Karen's got this down to about 0.8 of a second, and Bouchard is similarly back from him. So yeah, Karen is on it, and he could have this sooner rather than later. Wonder if the pit stop then is maybe what he wants to do. Try and undercut by just a couple laps and see if that works. As we look now at Stephen Ash trying to chase the 888 of Levesque for 6th.
Yeah, and remember, this is a battle we were following a little bit earlier. Ash doing the best that he can to hold off that, Levesque doing the best that he can to hold off that number 11 of Ash. Ooh, that's a good run through the entry of the junction. Let's watch both cars. Again, though, Ash getting a little bit wide there, losing a little bit of ground. He's running those right side tires up and onto that curb, and I think that's just causing infinitesimal wheel slip there.
And he's chasing a BMW, which, as we've seen, looked pretty fast here today. Levesque is not giving any hope to the 11. The brake rotors glow into turn 1, getting on the binders, and really brake heavily to get it slowed down in time for that dipping curve. Still not seeing anybody in the lane. Just heard someone in. That was Uribe. So it looks like Pablo now takes his stop. La Charita is still our highest pitter right now as we jump a little bit up here to Ferragonio and Menino. Here's two we haven't seen all day long, but fighting hard for P13.
Yeah, indeed, they are. Ferragonio in the BMW chasing down that Ferrari. Two of the cars that we've seen be a little bit more slippery in a straight line here today. So good on both of them. Ferragonio just trying to see what he can do. Little bit of a squiggle under braking there for the Ferrari. Both cars continuing up through the middle sector. I don't know where Ferragonio is going to get it. A better launch off of Perejeno there for Menino in front of him.
Coming out of the infield section, leaders still not deciding to pit right now. At least Kostovich is not coming in, but Rodrigo Mies is pitting. Morales stays out, and Karen stays out. So there's our first big name toppling the dominoes. We'll see who decides to follow and who will stay out. So far, everybody is staying out except I see Campos Del Rio joining him in the lane.
Well, that's a little bit interesting there, Joe. Mies was one of the ones that we thought was saving some pretty mega fuel, so diving in early, not exactly what I'd expect out of him.
But he could still potentially have a shorter pit stop if he has saved enough up to this point. Maybe that's what he's thinking. Pit on the lap that the others do not, and come back out and leapfrog him as we watch this battle down into the Descida del Lago. Menino playing defense on Ferragonio. They've jumped up one position since we last looked at them because of the pit stop for Mies, who's actually already back out and right behind them. There you can see him on screen.
Yes, indeed you can. So that's going to put him out in 13th place. He's going to be clear enough back here to be able to run a little bit quick through this middle sector. He's going to hope he'll be able to pick up some benefits of the draft, though, when they get onto the long straightaway, and maybe hope that these guys dive down. Ooh, Ferragonio starting to look a little bit aggressive here, trying to get around Dave Menino.
And our leader is now in. I have to say, I'm impressed with the distance the cars are going here today, because it seems like it's such a stop-start nature in the middle of the track that I think they'd be using up a lot of fuel. It shows what I know is now ends the pit window, except for Ferguson. Now, we saw Ferguson do this once before, did we not? I think it was Hungary.
Yes, he was one of the guys that was able to make this work on a no-stopper. And looking at his fastest lap time, he's relatively competitive with the rest of the field. Kostovich about 0.5 of a second faster, but Kostovich being the cream of the crop around here, that doesn't exactly surprise me. But Ferguson, this could be interesting here, Joe.
Spencer's back out. Mies is in second. He was able to stay ahead of Karen and Morales. So he'll retain what will be second and what is right now third. There you see Ferguson on your screen. Yeah, I couldn't imagine that he's got shenanigans going on here, the 676. Surely he's got to pit this time, but we said that about Hungary too. And as he exits out of Mergulo, we'll find out pretty soon, because the pit entry is just about a corner ahead.
Well, Joe, kind of thinking about this, Hungary and Interlagos are relatively similar. The first sector here is pretty wide open, and then you get into some twisty bits as you get into the middle sector. No, he's going to come down into pit lane. Okay, so he's disproving my theory there. So, all right, he's able to just stretch it one more lap with Ferguson.
Impressive fuel saving there from him. Unfortunately, he's been running in 10th pretty much all race long. We'll see where he comes out as now. Spencer Kostovich re-enters the lead, going on by Ferguson, who has reached his pit stall. Mies easily passed. Where is our 10th place driver? Cal Quinn is just coming past the pit entry now. Ferguson has finished his stop, and he is rolling. And Ferguson, not a particularly quick stop, but he's up to 10th. Or 8th, rather. So that's a 2-position gain for the 676.
It is, and a good job there for him, but he's not going to be alone. He's got Antoine Lacarati right behind him in that Lamborghini, so he's going to have to do a little bit of defense here as they go along in the closing stages of this race. He's in 8th, but he's going to have to fight a little bit more.
Still also keeping half an eye on the battle for 4th, which is what we've got on screen here. Karen just ahead of Morales for P3, really, I should say. Once again, trying to open up that corner entry, just swinging a little bit farther to the right. Behind him, Morales running to BMW. Let's see if that turbo will give him the oomph that he needs up the long uphill past Tobitos dos Boxes. Bouchard is behind them. If they tangle, he's ready to pick up the pieces, but not close enough for the orange and black BMW. And he'll have to retain 4th, at least for now.
Oh!
But he has a big catch there in the Senna S.
That was a little bit dangerous there from Diego Morales. A big bobble, and I think that's going to open him up to attack from Phil Bouchard, who is going to be coming up behind him in that number 773 BMW. There you can see Morales trying to get defensive, able to hold off the attack 4 now from Bouchard, almost coming together there.
The 773 season opportunity. Does he do it? Yeah, he's going to try it. He's going to get his nose in. Door has been left open, and he is into P4 as Morales makes the tiniest of slip-ups, and that is all that Phil needed.
Indeed it was. So Bouchard on and up there. Ferguson going to have to try, or Morales rather going to have to try to keep this going.
He's still within range. He could try and fight back. I'm kind of surprised that he didn't defend into the horseshoe. He just left the door open for him, and Phil said, "Thank you very much. I will invite myself in." See if I can get this 4th spot up the hill. Once again they go.
Once again they go indeed. Now let's see here if there's any sort of fight back from Diego. He's a little far back. Maybe could send something a little bit late on the binders. A defensive line already from Bouchard. Nothing really doing there. I don't think they're close enough. 1, 2, 3, 4. There they go on through the Senna S.
It's a pair of duos right now, because you can see on the screen that Karen and Mies are also extremely close. Lasciarite in for a 2nd stop, I think. Or is this his first? I'm seeing this marked as his first, but I swear we saw him pit one time before. This is unusual. Oh, this was a drive-through penalty. That's why I'm not seeing it marked. Antoine was a naughty boy today and went over the track boundaries one too many times. So he falls to 12th because of that. My goodness, we didn't see it on screen, but Karen just about made contact with the rear bumper of the 88.
Yeah, he did, Joe. Just misjudged the braking a little bit. He's getting really aggressive in these closing stages, trying to push that Porsche as hard as he can. And all of that caused him to check up a little bit right when he didn't need it to, and that is the run coming down into the junction. A little bit of a tighter turn in there for Andrew Karen. Runs the car a little bit wider. I think he lost about a tenth and a half coming out of the junction. He'll get the benefit of the slipstream, but I don't think he's going to be close enough to make the pass.
2 laps to go. Spencer just crosses the line in front of them, holding steady about 4 seconds ahead of them. The other podium positions have not been decided. These two will be the ones that look most likely to settle who sits there. Will it be Mies in 2nd and Karen in 3rd? Will those be swapped? Or will one of them tumble down the order, and will we see Bouchard and Morales be able to come through to try and spray the champagne? Down the Retta Aposta. Mies a little too far away this time.
And I wonder here if Karen is going to learn a little bit of his lessons and deliberately try to back himself up through the first part of this twisty bit, not try to go for too of an aggressive move and set himself up better for the more ideal overtaking zone going on the main straight. Let's see what he does here. Coming down into SA, there he goes, down into Perejeno. He's got pretty good distance here. It's going to be a good jump off the line. He's keeping that gap down to about 0.4 of a second.
I think he's going to have to be closer than that to attack. He's going to be looking for about 0.2 of a second and a good launch on top of it, like you were saying, off of these corners. And Karen starts to fall back a little bit. Both of them pushing hard, just slightly off the apex of the junction, but it bites them equally. Mies stays in second, about 0.5 ahead of Karen.
Yeah, and it really looked like there that Karen just went wide over that exit of the junction, and that cost him again. We've seen that happen to a couple of drivers out here today. Joe, are we on the white flag lap? Because we've got under a minute to go, and I believe our leader, Spencer Kostowicz, may have crossed over.
He did indeed. This is the last time around. Spencer's been in control of this one. He's gapped it still at about 4 seconds. Once he's got up to that, I'm wondering if he's simply been managing the distance to himself and these two, Mies and Karen. Granted, it hasn't always been these two. At times we've had Morales in there who's still not recovered. Diego's still in 5th. Once Bouchard got by, that's been job done for him. And down into the infield section, unless Karen gets a monster run, I don't think he's really got much recourse here.
No, he doesn't. He looked like he had a pretty decent go through to Cita del Lago, but that Ferrari just doesn't look like it has the bite that the Porsche does. Around these medium speed corners, that Porsche really able to sling around well. He is pretty close there. Let's see what the run off of the line is. It's about 0.3 of a second, so closer, but I don't think close enough.
Yeah, we haven't seen drivers really be able to pull from that far back, but this looks okay. 0.2 of a second. It might be tight, but I think he's safe. Meanwhile, in front of them, Spencer Kostowicz is your winner here at Interlagos in the PRL GT3 Pro Series. Behind them, Mies just barely there, and did he run out of fuel at the line? Because my goodness, Karen suddenly came up and was 0.06 back at the finish.
Yeah, he was. I'm going to have to go back and check that out for myself, Joe, because I think he may have run out. This is the battle there that with Goodway and Pataska. Goodway able to hold out finally, but just barely. Here's another good fight coming on, and that's going to finish in line as well.
Del Rio taking 14th over Ferragono and 15th. James David trying to chase Lowendick. Boy, we haven't gotten to really show much of Teddy today, but he's had a decent one. Went from 27th to 17th, so a 10-position gain for him ahead of James David. And there are 22 cars on the lead lap, which are just coming down through the line now. That's going to take us to a break. We'll come back with the unofficial results as well as driver interviews, so stick around. Welcome back to Interlagos. We just watched round 5 in the PRL GT3 Pro Series. And while up at the front, Spencer Kostovich looked like he had pretty much control of this the whole race. It was a battle for best of the rest between Mies, Karen, and Morales for much of the race. Mies came away with second. He actually sputtered at the line. He said in chat afterwards that he ran out of fuel right as they came to the finish. Karen was 600ths shy from snatching that second place. He still gets a third, as Phil Bouchard is the one who finishes P4 after Morales made a mistake, unfortunately, and Phil pounced on that. Morales with a top 5. Levesque was 6. Stephen Ash dropped down 2 positions in this race and finished 7th. Daniel Ferguson up 2 into 8th. Still, for the points leader, not quite what we expected today. Cal Quinn was 9th, and Lewis Goodway rounds out your top 10.
Coming home in 11th was Dallas Patasco, who was locked into a good battle with Lewis Goodway for the majority of the race. Behind them, it was Antoine Lacarrete with Nick Ludicky in 13th and Patricio Campos del Rio in 14th. Chris Ferragonia was in 15th, followed by Julio Gallo in 16th and Teddy Lowendick behind him. James David was 18th, Gonzalo Cortez 19th, and rounding out your top 20, it's Pablo Uribe.
Alessandro Torchio with a hiccup here or there finished in 21st. Rafael Russo was the last one on the lead lap in 22nd. Then it was Dave Menino, 3 laps down in 23rd. And after that, I believe it was all DNFs, unfortunately, to Gagnon Renault. But Spencer Kostovich pretty much led just about every lap but one, except for a pit stop where we saw Ferguson continue on extra. And as we talk to that number 18, it's going to be interesting to hear if he's a specialist here, because it certainly looked like it. Spencer, your first win of the season. You're 5 out of 5 now for different drivers winning races. Are you a specialist at this course? Because my goodness, it just seemed like nobody could touch you.
I certainly wouldn't say I'm a specialist. I think it's more down to the car. This track is one of the biggest reasons why I decided to go with the BMW this season. It just works so perfectly around here, and there are some more tracks later down the schedule that I should be pretty competitive in. But yeah, it feels good to finally get one. Considering I've been in this car with the last few tracks and done pretty well. Pretty happy, but yeah, looking forward to the next couple rounds.
That's understandable. Speaking of those next couple rounds, as I mentioned, 5 different winners in 5 rounds. Do you see yourself becoming that first repeat winner, or is there someone else you've got your eye on that looks most likely to finally do that?
Well, I'm certainly going to try. That's for sure. I think that the NERB GP layout is a really good track for this car. You kind of just gave me some motivation to go out and win, I suppose.
Well, I'm glad I can provide a bit of that. Do you have much practice over at the Nürburgring GP? I've always found that one to be a surprisingly difficult little course.
Yeah, actually, this past summer for the SCO series, we had to do, I guess, the half course with that particular chicane. So I've gotten pretty good at how that chicane works, because I think a lot of the time in the track just comes from taking that one correctly. So yeah, I'd say I have a pretty good amount of experience on it.
Well, that should certainly come in handy. Congratulations on the win. Anybody you want to give a shout out to? Yeah,
of course, Vendaval, SimiCube. I just got the new SimiCube Sport. This is my first race in PRL with it, and obviously served me well. So yeah, I want to thank those guys and just my family, whoever's watching. Yeah.
That was our winner, Spencer Kostovich, with the next one being Rodrigo Mies, finishing second today. DJ has caught up with him.
I have indeed, and Rodrigo, that was a pretty action-packed race all the way around, having to hold off Andrew Karen there at the end. Talk me through that.
Yeah, hello guys. It was very intense race. My car was struggling a lot with the top speed, but in the slow part of the track I was faster, so I just tried to pit in front of the guys because I knew if I pitted behind them, it was over for me. So I gave my 100% into pitting in second position, and I just barely made it in front of Andrew. He was very, very fast. Morales was very, very, very fast too. But yeah, it was a very great race, and I struggled with the fuel at the end. I crossed the line without fuel, so I was with my heart on my hand, literally.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, how close did you think that was going to be coming to the line? Obviously, you're running the fuel numbers there, but that sputter with about 100 yards to go, I know you said in the chat gave you a heart attack, but did you think it was going to be that close?
I think that it was going to be worse because I just saved it every lap after the stop. All the races I had a bit of problem with my fuel calculations, but yeah, this one wasn't too bad, so I could just save it. And every lap after the pit stop, I just went into fuel saving, and I just made it. I really don't believe how close it was, but I'm very, very happy with the result.
I would say I would be as well after a run like that. But closing down on next week, we head to the Nürburgring. A little bit of a different circuit there, but home field for you and the Porsche, I guess I would say. How do you think it's going to go?
Yeah, I have high expectations on Nürburgring. It's a track that I just like too much. It's one of my favorite tracks. But yes, I have high expectation. Maybe a podium again, or my first win in this tournament. The field is so competitive, so it's very hard to keep up with the guys.
Well, we'll be watching for you no matter what, Rodrigo. Anybody you'd like to thank for this run tonight?
Yeah, I want to say thank to my team, to .cl, to all the sponsors, Fox Limitada, Top Speed, Todo Juegos. I want to say thanks to my family that was watching me, my mom, my brother, my dad, and to all my teammates that support me. Thanks to all of them, and thanks to you guys.
Thank you, Rodrigo. That was your second place finisher here, Rodrigo Mies. And now, Joe Peak, you've caught up with our third place finisher, Andrew Karen.
Indeed, Andrew back on the podium after not having been on it since round one, with 5 points in round three and a DNF last time. This has got to be refreshing.
Yeah, for sure. With the last 2 weeks, there's been accident, and I didn't really get to drive, so I'm really happy to just get around to drive around and fight with those guys, even though I think my championship is pretty much finished there.
That's unfortunate to hear, but looks like you're still having fun. With you driving the Ferrari today, we heard a lot of drivers mentioning that the BMW seemed to be the one to be in. Could you notice that inside your car?
At this track, for sure. I think the BMW at the power, it was really hard to pass. I had the battle with the Porsche. I think the Porsche was a bit of a disadvantage. I think the Ferrari was pretty good, but I made a mistake and put too much fuel, so that didn't help me there. But, I think the three cars were really close, but I think the BMW had the little advantage there.
Now that you've managed to get back up to the front, or at least finish up at the front, did you take anything away from this race that, as well as the two previous ones, that you feel like will help you avoid some of those pitfalls from before?
I think, like I said at first one, I'll just take it race by race and see what happens. I think I'm doing this a lot more for fun, and it gives me experience battling and everything. But for sure, every time you race, you learn from everything that happened in the race. So for sure, I'll take it as experience.
Got to gain that EXP. Well, Andrew, congratulations on a podium. Is there anybody you want to thank?
For sure, I would like to thank all the guys at Able Esports and OSR for our team. They're really nice. They've been helping us with our cockpits and everything, and Able Esports doing all the media social stuff. It's been really great to be with those guys, and I would also like to thank all my teammates for being there with me, for helping me, working together, and just motivation.
Well, great stuff there from Andrew Karen, our third place finisher here today, who had some tense battles but survived with a third, and that's going to close us out, of course, with a big thank you to the sponsors of this league, which of course include ASR. They design and build the sturdiest and most durable aluminum profile racing simulation cockpits available in the market today. Visit them at advancedsimracing.com. And RaceLab. It helps you to improve your driving skills. Start using it now for free at racelab.app. As well as ButtKicker. Feel what you've been missing at thebuttkicker.com. And SimMSA. Find out how you can bridge the gap between virtual and real motorsports at SIMMSA.net. And finally, NinjaTrader. Visit ninjatrader.com and get started with a risk-free trading simulator to start tracking your performance. Thanks to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcast listed here on your screen. And additional thanks to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. Check out her Bandcamp for more great work. Thanks to the team today, DJ, Rob, and Dougie. You can find more info about GSRC at globalsimracingchannel.com or through our social media here on the screen. Check out our merchandise store at simracingmerch.com/GSRC. We keep a link in the description below. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss a moment. The next time we come out in a week's time, it'll be Bathurst for the MX-5s and the Nürburgring Grand Prix course for the GT3s. That'll be Monday, October 25th, 8:30 p.m. Eastern. We have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out. Mark them down on your calendar. Until next time, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.